once again, Mojang has cooked. This is the 1.21.4 creaking release. No, wait, Garden Awakens, that's what it's called. They added a bunch of new blocks for what is essentially a mini update. They added a whole new biome, which is really cool. We're not going to go over that, but we've got all the stuff from the biome. Whole new wood type, whole new brick and non-brick thing type. Lots of stuff to go over and lots of cool building opportunities. So here's how you use all of it. So of course we got to address the pale oak tree and the pale oak logs. So they're white. The inside the planks are white. We have white planks now. Oh, it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful, guys. It works obviously well with birch wood. So if we've got diorite at the bottom, if you want a more smooth transition, diorite to calcite quartz. That used to be the transition. So obviously we've got all the new wood type stuff. Anything that you want another wood, another white color, white, anything wood, it's going to be super helpful. I think having white for hanging signs and fences and fence gates are going to be revolutionary for me in particular. I'm making a bunch of birch trees on EchoCraft so I can replace. Oh, with the oh, that looks so good. Oh, that looks so good. Hold up. Let me test this real quick. Oh, that looks so good. Oh my gosh. The difference between that and that, it just feels so much brighter. It feels bright like a birch tree should. Oh yeah, mixing in just a little bit of cherry to give it kind of that pinkish hue that birch trees are actually supposed to have. Yeah, that looks great. I really like that. That's one really cool thing. You can match the wood color with birch logs. The door, really nice door design actually. It's very medieval looking, but it's like it's the kind of medieval looking where it's like evil elf dungeon basement entrance kind of medieval, you know? Yeah, okay. That's pretty nice. I like that. I like how the trapdoors look, actually. Okay, well, yes. So we've got all the white wood, which is obviously revolutionary. And I'll talk about the resin in a second. I've actually got something else to point out. We have the oak logs and oak wood, which I think is a great color of gray. Like, this is a great gray. Ooh, wait a gosh darn minute. I might have just had a brainwave. So the transition between, if you want to use nether bricks, get kind of like a reddish hue, and then have just stone gray, it's a little bit of a rough transition. The pale oak logs, though, kind of make that transition work. Kind of. This is one of the reasons I'm liking this pale oak log, because it's gray, but it doesn't have a blue or a green hue behind it like most of the other blocks do. It's actually, like, you can see kind of like the blues and a little bit of green in this block. In this block, it's much closer to the red or orange. You can see it kind of here with the creaking heart. It actually blends really well into this kind of orangish that you don't really tell. It's kind of got like a red undertone, so it will work better as a gray block for all of these kind of reddish blocks. Really great little design thing. Also, pale oak wood, fantastic for tree detailing. Look, the pale oak tree itself might not be super interesting, but actually I already left one of those there. But something I like to do with my larger trees is take gray blocks and make them kind of scattered around to, you know, because trees in real life, most of the bark is gray, unless you got like a birch tree or something. But the best you had was really tough in acacia wood. Now, acacia wood's pretty bright. Tough doesn't really look like a wood. Now we've got something. Because now, not only have you got the fact that it's a darker gray, but now it's got a red or orange undertone, which is the undertone that brown blocks have. So it blends a lot better than the tough or the deep slate ever could. So you've got a very, very nice blending block. So there you go. Pale oak wood, great for dark tree spots, making it look a little bit more gray. Of course, you can build just regular gray things with it as well. I think it will mix well with darker red hue blocks. I would also like to acknowledge the creaking heart. It's a pretty specific kind of thing. It's a little, I think it's going to be a little bit hard to work with because you need to have the creaking logs, then the creaking heart, and then another row of creaking logs to activate it. Now, that said, it can also be horizontal, but so do both of the logs next to it. Now, one of my favorite things that I found that you can do is something like that. Oh, there's the eye blossoms. Those are neat sounds, actually. Okay, so it does not actually let off any light. But here is the eye blossom. I guess we'll go over it. Eye blossom is kind of neat because it only blooms at night, which I think is a really cool feature, kind of getting more interactive flowers that kind of do things, even though it's still very much just a visual change. It's kind of neat. And I think these are very neat little plants. They're kind of alien looking. If I put this in a pot. But anyways, back to this. Something like that. And also, the resin clumps are very, very cool. They look like resin clumps. It's like an amber kind of color. But I think it would also, you can actually put it on top of the creaking block too to give it a little bit of the creaking heart block to give it a little bit of variation, which I actually kind of like. An idea I actually just had for it though, and you can do it to any of the resin blocks too, make them have a little bit of like this almost makes it look like it's like dripping, like the resin slowly melting. That's actually kind of neat. And also, of course, you've got the resin chiseled bricks, which has a creaking face on it, a slightly melty creaking face now. And you're gonna find them on the trees. I don't know how about plentiful they'll be. Oh, it does close. Oh, that's unfortunate. Never mind, guys. I'm sorry. It does close. But the idea I had for the resin clumps, let's take some lava. Let's maybe get some basalt. So obviously we've got our basalt and our little bit of lava, but it needs some sprucing up. Let's maybe put another one there. You could make some resin mixed with some lava sources. And in my opinion, it looks very much like it's kind of more solidified lava. And you could mix this with actual magma blocks. It's a very good transition between netherrack, magma, and actual lava. You can kind of see that transition there. And you could use it, say you want to make something look like lava, but you don't want to actually put flammable lava there. Resin might be your friend. And you can also put it around, and it kind of looks like there's just lava spots. It's like little bits of lava and molten pieces sputtering out of the lava, right? I think it's very, very bright orange, like pretty much the exact same hue as lava. And to me, it just looks like it needs to be part of lava. You can use resin for resin, or you can make it like some transition with lava. You can use resin clumps. You can place them in survival as well, and it looks like little bits of lava. I think it's cool. Okay, moss and moss. So we've got the pale oak sapling as well, which, oh my gosh, the pale oak sapling also looks very, very cool. In the plant pot as well, it looks very neat. The pale oak leaves, you might be seeing the particles here, which are actually little leaves. You know, you go up next to one, yeah, a little bit of a leaf there. So this, aside from the cherry leaves, which I'll get a little bit of a comparison for here, you got cherry leaves and you got the pale oak leaves, which both give off floating leaf effects. Now, the cherry leaves are very bright, they're pink, they're very vivid. because it's supposed to be cherry blossoms that are falling, right? So they're very specific to kind of the aesthetic that it's meant to be. These, not necessarily. These can theoretically go in any tree because it's just gray leaves. Now you might notice that they're gray and kind of like call that out, but you could hypothetically, I'd probably put it in a tree that's a little bit denser than this. But now you've got a vanilla way of just having a few little spots of leaves coming down. Like, wait for a couple. Yeah, there's one. Now, obviously, when your whole tree isn't made of it, it's going to be a little bit more rare. But it's such a neat little ambience thing. And you do sacrifice the fact that it is very much just quite a bright gray. It does stand out quite a bit, but you can deliberately cover that and just leave the bottom open. And you'll get those little particle effects every once in a while. If I sprinkled it more heavily amongst the top of the trees, you'd have more falling down. But you can get a little bit of ambience just by sprinkling a couple of these in here. And when they're falling, if you're at a distance... There we go. There's one. There's two. Yeah, when they're falling, at a distance, even at this distance, you don't really notice that they're gray. So, yeah, cool little thing you can do. You can sprinkle them in with other tree colors, and you'll get the particle effects, and you don't necessarily notice that it's the gray leaves. I do like the gray leaves. They're very cool. And they're very similar looking to like a dead mangrove. Yeah, it's a very similar texture to mangrove. It is different, but it's like a dead mangrove that's like shifted. Okay, I guess the other thing we've got is the pale moss, the pale hanging moss, which, if you didn't know what the inspiration for this, it's called Spanish moss. It's a hanging gray moss exactly like this, full of little bugs that I'm not going to pronounce on YouTube because it is appropriate, but it sounds like something that's very, very, very bad. Just look up bugs inside of a Spanish moss, and you'll know what I'm talking about. You can't climb it, unfortunately, although I wouldn't want to climb Spanish moss, so that's probably fine. But it looks like that. It's like a very kind of dead... I guess, I'm not sure exactly what you could use this for. You could probably use it for some kind of like interior decoration to make it look like it's a little cloth thing. And of course, you've got the pale moss, which if you get regular moss... No, it is in fact the same tech. Nope, slightly different. You can see that pixel and that pixel. That's the same shape in the same spot, but it's got some replaced pixels. So they did not, in fact, just grayscale the moss block. They grayscaled the moss block and then clicked a couple of pixels and made them slightly different. Just to alter it ever so slightly. But it is pretty much just the moss block grayscale. And yeah, it's just moss. It's just gray moss. You can make nice kind of gray poofy carpets now. You have wool, of course. I guess you could mix the pale moss. I keep trying to call it Spanish moss, but that's not technically what it is. You could mix it with gray wool colors, kind of like that. It's kind of like an intermediary between gray and light gray. You kind of got this fluffy texture now. You used to only be able to do that with regular moss, with a green carpet, but now you've got a gray option, which is kind of nice as well. Although I'm not sure how much I'll use it because usually I use carpets for color. But, you know, the option's there. The option's there. And also, the moss, okay, it is literally just random. Yeah, so it's completely random whenever you place the moss, the pale moss block. If it is low or high. So, but you also got resin clumps, which we discussed earlier. It looks cool. It does. If you renamed it to like amber or something, you could pass it off as amber. The bricks, I'm not sure what you can use that for, but it looks like a cool like molten. You could use it as like a stand-in for molten metal, probably. Like you could have, if you're like setting up something with armor stands in like a smeltery, you could have one guy with like a piece of iron that he's like about to put in, and then there's another one in the smelter that's like like orange hot and melty, and like they're holding it with tongs or something. I don't know. You could do something like that. That's like the first thing that comes to my mind. It looks like a like just a molten piece of iron, like a molten iron ingot. Super neat. And of course, you've got L bundles. They actually finally added them to the game. Thank God. But it works pretty simply. I think you can just, oh, so you right click, you left click things to put them in, and you right click to take them out again. Okay. Right click, right click, right click, left click, left click, left click. And I believe it's in the same order. So if we do clump, ingot, egg, it's in reverse order. So egg, ingot, clump. Yes. Egg, ingot, clump, clump, ingot, egg. Yes. Okay. So that's not really a build thing. That's my bad. But there are lots of colors of bundles. There's one of every color, and I think you can hold you can hold a stack of mixed items. So the brown bundles are actually less brown than the bundles, than the not brown bundles, which is interesting. It's more like a tan color. You got white bundles, gray bundle, light gray bundles, which almost is like a kind of cyan color. In cyan is like almost aqua. So that's kind of an interesting thing. Squid ink black, very light blue, very blue. Got the purple, magenta, pink. That looks reasonable. Red, orange, yellow. That looks reasonable. Lime and green. So yeah, those all looked pretty good. You could take a red bundle. You could take red and green bundles. Make a little like gift packages for your friends and stuff. And hand them out. That could be a cool little like thing that you do if you're updating a server or something. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy and if you learned something from this, please consider subscribing. It helps me out a ton. And if you can think of anything else with these blocks that you could do, please let me know. I'm just kind of starting to look at these things. These are ideas that I just had off the top of my head, and a couple of things I thought of beforehand. I think there's a lot of potential with these blocks. I think Mojang did a really good job of making them apply to a lot of different situations. I'm really excited to replace the birch wood in my birch trees with pale oak wood whenever I get the chance, if we update EchoCraft Season 5 then. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.